Hey guys, so roughly every 3 months I do this video where I go over the most played rogue decks in ranked play on Dueling Book, providing sample deck lists as well as a cost breakdown of the core cards. Now in a few weeks I'll also be doing what I call a rogue analysis, where I look at what rogue decks the top ranked players are piloting, so stay tuned for that. So let's just get started. So about 2 weeks into this new format after the March ban list, Heroes are the 5th most played rogue deck in ranked play on Dueling Book as of March 30th, and was the 21st most played deck overall online, and it had a match win rate of 46%. Not really the highest win percentage, although keep in mind that usually for tier 1 decks it's around 60%. Heroes are a fan favorite deck that is honestly competitively viable in aggro strategy with some powerful boss monsters like Destiny Hero Plasma, that is a one-sided skill drain, and also Mass Hero Darklaw, it's a one-sided macro cosmos which can destroy a lot of decks. Not to mention, it can also rip a card when your opponent searches. So this is a deck list provided in a video on DBZ439's channel, and I will have a link to everyone's deck profile in this video in the description below. So this list was able to fit in 6 hand traps on top of the 3 droplets and a feather duster in the main, and the extra deck for heroes typically pretty tight. So for all of the decks in this video, I'll provide a cost breakdown for just the core cards of the deck, and these prices are based on the market price in US dollars for the cheapest rarity possible as of March 30th. Now Heroes is an insanely expensive deck, as you can see here. In the main deck, the most expensive card is a Dusted Gold, which is just over $130, and a playset of Vision Hero Ferris is almost $80 as well. And Vision Hero Increase and Liquid Soldiers, they add up as well, and so these 28 cards alone already cost over $300. As for the extra deck, all 15 cards are generally Heroes cards and not generic extra deck monsters like most decks would play. And one that stands out the most is of course Malicious Bane at over $140. Keep in mind though, there should be a legendary duelist reprint coming out at some point, hopefully in the near future, that should reprint both a Dusted Gold and Malicious Bane, and that should really cut the price down. So overall, the main and extra deck core cards for Heroes that I listed here add up to an insane $484, but don't worry, that's by far the most expensive out of any other deck that I will list in this video. Coming in as the 4th most played rogue deck is Altergeist, which basically makes my top 5 list each time I make this video, and also usually the highest win percentage for a rogue deck, this time at around 53%. It's a trap heavy control strategy that make the most out of Altergeist Multi-Faker, that can special summon another Altergeist monster from deck, typically it's a Liquidus, that can bounce your opponent's cards, and you also have your staple power heavy traps to really mess with your opponent. This list is by Dark Arm Duelist, and again, make sure to check out the actual deck profile videos if you want to hear more about the card choices. Now as for the price breakdown, the actual Altergeist cards are dirt cheap, coming to about $18. But overall, if you want to complete this deck, then it's certainly not actually cheap. In terms of staples, the ones you need for sure are a playset of Extravagance, which will be about $80 at the time of recording this video, and a playset of Impermanence, which would cost about $60. The Extravagance provides the needed draw power, and Imperm is spectacular in this deck because you can potentially resolve Multi-Faker on your opponent's turn that way. And then you have to fill the rest of the deck with some staple traps as well. As for the extra deck, again trying to stick with just the core cards, I have 3 Altergeist Hexia as well as the 1 Prime Banshee, which are dirt cheap as well. Now you probably also want to play 2 to 3 Link Karibo in this deck, which is pretty standard and they are pretty cheap cards. Access Code Talker would be the most expensive card in the extra deck for Altergeist, but not necessarily if you don't want to pay for it right now. So in total, the Altergeist specific cards are really only about $20. Next we have Skystriker, which is always one of the most popular rogue decks online that is a spell heavy strategy with a 47% win rate. Now this is Bill Wazeless, who actually just came 2nd place in the most recent North American Remote Duel Extravaganza, which is insane, and you can watch the profile on DD God's channel that I'll link below. Typically you see Skystrikers play a ton of hand traps as you see here, and they are typically blind second deck and can either prevent you from setting things up through hand traps or just drop Mystic Mine on you and auto win from there. As for the cost of the main deck core, Skystriker cards are generally pretty cheap, except for Rose, which has gone up quite a bit in the recent months, and 2 of Rose will cost about $40 in market price, which leads to about $60 for the 17 cards that you see listed here. Now at this point, Mystic Mine is pretty much integral to the Skystriker strategy, so you probably want to get that as well if you don't have it, where a single copy of it right now is about $7, so it has gone up lately. The Skystriker extra deck monsters are quite cheap as well, although a playset of Shizuku will be the most expensive at around $14. Now Access Code Talker is the only expensive extra deck monster in Skystrikers, although of course I did not put that on here since you don't have to have it and it's more of a staple card that you may already have. So the main and extra deck cards I listed for Skystrikers add up to about $75, which I think is quite reasonable. Coming in as the second most played rogue deck is Burning Abyss, a deck that's been a lot of players' favorite for years and had a match win percentage of about 45%. It's a cool strategy where the BA monsters effects trigger when they get sent to the grave, and there's a more combo oriented playstyle that mixed with the Phantom Knight engine or more of a control variant that plays a lot of traps. Now the amazing thing about Burning Abyss is that Gabe Vargas most recently won the Remote Duel Invitational qualifier with it, and you can watch his deck profile on his own YouTube channel, Gabriel Zombie. Now this is the typical control version of Burning Abyss that plays a lot of traps, and Gabe did note that he would have ideally liked to have a third needle ceiling in his deck and round his list to 50. He also played the Dragoon package as well, which gives a lot of rogue decks a strong boost. Now as for the cost for the Burning Abyss cards, I decided to just provide the monsters as the traps are sort of up to your discretion and are staples. So I basically have the BA monsters and a few non-BA monsters, but those that are always seen in the list, which include Absolute King Back Jack, Fiendish Rhino, and Tour Guide from the Underworld. These cards listed are really cheap, and with the 20 monsters adding up to about $30. As for the extra deck, I'm just listing only the BA monsters here, which again are very cheap, only adding to about $7. So the main and extra deck cards I listed here are only about $36, but keep in mind that you will have to fill a lot of the empty slots that will add up. For example, if you were to play AA Zeus and Dragoon, which would also include Verde Anaconda, that would certainly add up. The deck can also play Access Code Talker as well, so the extra deck in reality can be very expensive if you don't already own these staple monsters. The main deck can be hefty as well if you do decide to run Pot of Prosperity or even Ice Dragon's Prison, since it is arguably the best trap card in the game right now. And finally, the most played rogue deck in the current format is Mangrade, which also took first place when I did this video a few months ago. Once considered a tier 1 deck, it has fallen hard, but still a strong rogue strategy and has a 50% win rate currently. It is a control type of deck that has an insane grind game, and the deck seems to make more use of powerhouse traps nowadays, but it certainly has an easy access to OTK with Access Code Talker as well, if you can afford it. This is a list that was available on Asian Persuasion's channel, and keep in mind that this list did come out just before the March ban list, so you still see the cycle reader in the side there for Drytrons. I still opted to go with this list since it seemed to provide a pretty standard list. Again, you can check out the deck profiles to learn more about the card choices. As for the cost breakdown, the main deck is quite cheap. Realistically, the best bet would be to just get 3 of the Soulburner structure decks, although admittedly they are probably hard to get at a good price nowadays. The only notable cards are Signet Mining, which did not come in the structure deck, and a playset will cost about $14. As for the extra deck, I'm only listing the Mangrade cards here, which again are dirt cheap. Now ideally, you want to play Access Code Talker as well, which is the only expensive card in the extra for Mangrade, but of course not necessary. Salads can also play some rank 4s, the popular ones being Baguska and Abyss Dweller, which are very cheap. So in total, the main and extra deck salad related cards that I listed only add up to about $34, so great value for money with this deck. Alright guys, so that is it for the most popular rogue decks online on Dueling Book currently. Again, in a few weeks I'll bring you guys a rogue analysis where I'll provide a breakdown of the rogue decks that the top ranked players use, so that you have a sense of which ones can compete against the meta. Anyways, that's it for me. Take care guys.